Hi everybody and welcome. Starter Pokemon are without a doubt the most important Pokemon of each generation. Fans usually spend the most time with their starter, so they should be appealing to a lot of people. Most Fakemon artists here on YouTube also start with the starter trio, and so did I nearly 4 years ago. Over the time my drawing and editing skills improved and my style has changed, so the 3 starters went through a few changes that some of you may haven't even seen. That's why this video right here is 100% reserved for these starters of the Jermanzburg region. The first part of the video is a complete compilation of all the starter videos I made through the years, so if you're new or want a trip through memory lane, you now have a place to watch everything starter related in one place. And for those who already know these videos, don't worry, I got brand new Mega Evolutions for the 3, like I probably promised at one point. Here's the timeline for this video because it's probably gonna be quite long. Starting with my very first video, aka the original pitch and concept from 2021. Then the first redesigns I made with the help of you, the viewers, a few weeks later. Then the redesigns from 2022 and 2023, and finally the new Mega Evolutions from 2025. I am pretty proud of this trio and I hope there is one starter for every single one of you. Let me know which starter is your choice and if your opinion has changed through the Mega Evolution. Let's start. Hello, so I wanted to make a Fakemon region for quite some time and I finally decided to start. It is based on the country I'm from, Germany. Mainly because I already had a few ideas and concepts in mind and because I see it every day. There will be starter Fakemon, fossils, regional variants, gym leaders, badges and a lot more. And you can help me if you want to. I call this project Fakemon Shift and Gridlock. I am probably gonna talk about that sometimes in the future. But now let's start with the grass starter. I based my design off of the nearly extinct bird called Waldrapp. Usually grass starters are based on animals that are already extinct, but I made a change here. The beak reminded me of a plague doctor mask and a Venetian mask, because it's quite colorful but also scary looking. I know there is already a plague doctor Pokemon, but it's pink, which I like but not with this concept. I didn't base the shape of the first form off of the actual babies of the bird, I just went with the shape I thought was fitting for a starter. I wanted the colors to be on the darker side, because I imagined the final evolution to be grass and dark. However, nothing's set yet. The prototype name right now is called Valorath. It's a mix of carnival, masquerade and death. It sounds kinda cool, but not much like a Pokemon or Fakemon, and it's really hard to say for me. So I knew I wanted to make another rabbit starter, because it's kinda fitting for Germany, and unfortunately fire was fitting the best. I know we just had one, but I didn't really like how they came out, so it's just made another one. And technically it's not just a rabbit, it's a Wolperdinger. It's basically a bunch of animal parts mixed together, like you can see on the reference. I also didn't want the final form to be bipedal. It's gonna look like a bunch of animals mixed together and it will stay on 4 legs. I gave it a flame-like pattern and wanted parts of the body to look like ash or coal. I called it Rebel Mix, which is a fusion of rabbit, mix, and it sounds a bit like Rebel, which reflects its personality. And finally the water starter. There was only really one animal I wanted to use for it, and that's the beaver. I try to make the region a bit mystical, so each of the starters has its own creepy element. Valoreth has the Plague Doctor and Death aspect, Rebel Mix the aspect of unknown creatures, and the Water starter has elements of ghosts like those ghost children on photos. It is a playful Fakemon that just tries to connect with people but often accidentally scares them away. And here we have Castized. It uses the words caster fiber, which is the scientific name for the European beaver, and poltergeist or just geist, which is the German term for ghost. So those were the first beta stages. You can tell me what you think about them in the comments. I'm totally open for name changes or your ideas on the designs. What you think can be done better or different. Maybe you see another unifying theme that I have missed or that would fit them. Now I show you what I imagine the evolutions to look like. The drawings are just first draft and roughly colored in, nothing is final yet. The second stage of Valoreth is standing upright and is just not as cute as before. The final stage has a beak that looks more like a Plague Doctor or Venetian mask. The neck is supposed to look like leaves, and as you have seen while drawing, these birds have some kind of colorful feathers, so I incorporated that. However, this design just looks like a cartoon bird, so I need a bit help. For the typing I thought about grass and dark. Next up, the second and third stage of the Fire Starter. It's not bipedal, I wanted it to be on all four and to look kinda monstrous. In the second stage, the wings were inspired by a phoenix. Its claws and horns are made out of coal, and the bottom half of the markings are supposed to symbolize lava. In the final stage, I made the wings completely out of ash to reference the Rise from the Ashes theme. And I gave it a lion's mane, not sure why, I just did. Please let me know what you think about this design. And last and unfortunately kinda least, the second stage of the Water Starter. I had a third one too, but it looked bad, so I deleted it right away after drawing it. It now has legs, don't know if I want to keep that. The markings around the eyes are supposed to be simplified ghosts, and the spots on the back and on its tail can be seen as skeleton parts. And I gave it a glowing orb. Yeah. The final stage will be Water Ghost, that's why it looks like it's floating. If you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. In the rare case that any of you actually has like drawn concept ideas, you can send them to me via my Instagram account for this channel, not the private one please. They are linked in the description if you want to send any ideas or to see the full Pokédex. At the end, I wanted to mention the creators that inspired me to start this project. Those videos shown right here and their channels will also be in the description. Everyone is doing the best, so please be kind, and if you like Fakemon, check them out. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've never done something like this before, I hope it was okay for the first time. I also usually don't speak in English, so sorry for that. Also, most important question, which starter would you choose? Hello guys, thanks to everyone who watched and commented under my first video. If you haven't already, please watch it first so this one here makes sense. There we met the prototypes for my Fakemon starters. In this video I will be using your ideas to redesign the Water Starter line. If you have ideas for the other two, please let me know. I haven't redesigned them yet. These two commenters gave me the main inspiration. The Ultimate Alliance said the water starter can be based on Vikings, which is fitting since there is a Viking settlement in Germany called Heidelberg. The other commenter is by Kyle, who gave a bunch of inspiration for all 3 starters. By the way, I love the name, it reminds me of one of my favorite characters from the She-Ra reboot. Casters will have inspiration from the Nyx, which is a water ghost. A Nyx can be in a humanoid or animalistic form, the line will be both, but more animalistic. I wanted to keep the post similar to the beta design, but I had to change the head shape because it was too similar to Rebel Mix. There's a theory that water stars are based on different weapons, so I decided to make the tail shaped like a Thor's hammer. It will also have typical round shields. Also, I tried to make its arms shaped like the paddle of a longship. I tried a new outlining technique that I saw in a YouTube video by Subjectively and on the Insta channel of the Mitra region. I'll link their social medias down below. Color stayed mostly the same, but I changed the yellow to purple. Here we have the water starter cast-sized. In the right upper corner you can see its size compared to a human. I didn't change too much from the prototype design, but it honestly has more personality now. Now the second stage. For this pose I used a seal as inspiration because P was a little bit awkward while swimming. I tried to give the head a slight feeling of a helmet without being too direct because I feared it will look too much like a steel type. The eye pattern is supposed to be a ghost. With the purple pose, it can use telekinesis, which it uses to prank people. Its prototype name is Victide, which is a mix of Viking, Victory and Tide. For the third stage I wanted at first to go into a more sea serpent-like direction like the ship in my references, but that didn't work that well, so I decided to basically use the previous 2 poses but make it larger and threatening looking. The things at its back are referring to sails on a ship. The eye pattern is a fusion of a ghost and a water drop. And the last stage of the water starter. Its name is Tactire, a fusion of Protector and Soldier. It is still playful and messes around with its powers, but its first priority is to protect its trainer and the team members. There we have the full water starter line. Next to it is the female protagonist, one of 3 possible protagonists. Cast-sized would be her signature Fakemon starter. It was just my first draft of her and I'm probably gonna redesign her later. Her name is Lith, which means protection. All the protagonists will be named after a similar meaning. There are 4 different versions of the protagonist. I used the official Pokémon skin color versions to make these. So that's it for the video today. Do you like the line? If yes, tell me in the comments, and please like the video and subscribe to my channel. If you have more ideas for Fakemon for a region based in Germany, please feel free to tell me. If I don't answer your comments, it's probably because YouTube doesn't show them to me. I had those problems unfortunately under my last video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I definitely enjoyed making these Fakemon, and yeah. Hi everyone, I finally found the time to edit the next video. I also want to thank you for 20 subscribers, over 200 clicks on episode 1 and over 100 clicks on episode 2. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe to not miss any future videos. This time we will redesign and widen the concept of the fire starter. Again, most inspiration came from the comments. There were also a few comments who suggested different typings like ice or electric, which were both cool, but fairy was fitting the concept the best. The comments also suggested an overarching theme, different types of stories. The grass starter represents history stories, the water starter represents ghost stories, and the fire starter fairy tales. One trope I realized was also fitting was different fantasy role tropes. I know it was already kinda done with Gen 6, but it was fitting nonetheless. The grass starter is the healer, the water starter the warrior, and the fire starter the animal companion. The first form will be based on the small animal companion that nearly every show has. They're usually cute and everybody loves them. The first evolution is based on the middle-sized companion. They are still cute but more mature and can be threatening. The last stage is based on the large companions. They are usually quite strong and capable of fighting and protecting. The changes of the first stage are quite subtle. Pulse stayed the same, but I changed the pattern on its belly into something less obvious than a flame. It now is supposed to be a volcano. Its paws resemble stones flying around during an eruption, and the fluffy fur around its neck is supposed to look like smoke. The paws will later turn into boots made of cooled down lava. Also, the first stage does not have wings already, they grow after the first evolution. And here's the redesign of the first stage. I didn't change the name, I quite like it. The second stage redesign is also not crazy different, just some small adjustments. The fur around its neck grows bigger, same goes for the rock boots. I simplified the antlers and made them less pointy so you don't accidentally step your eyes when you cuddle it. I also decided to give it a tail that already hints at the theme of the final evolution. I wanted this line to be cute, cool and badass at the same time. There are already a few rabbit Pokemon and it's not that I dislike them, but I wouldn't use one on my team. I wanted to change that. So here's the new second stage, Rebel Main. I'm quite happy with the redesign, I think it fits the whole middle stage aesthetics pretty well. Now to the last stage. It will basically be a cool huge warrior rabbit, like the Tagwell from Fire Emblem Awakening. The final form resembles different mystical animals. Its wings are phoenix wings, also there are small volcanoes on the top. The tail is a stinger like the one a Manticore has. I also forgot that this Fakemon is supposed to have antlers, so I had to add them after I lined this thing. And here we have the final stage of the fire starter, Rebel Raptor. This stage got the most changes and I'm actually pretty happy how it turned out. I hope you guys like them too. Next to them we have the male protagonist. I drew the concept for this one actually like 2 years ago. His haircut looks a bit like the cheek fluff of Rebel Mix, which was completely accidentally. His name is Liam, which means strong-willed warrior. Now that the Firestar is done, the only one left is Valerath, the Grass Terror. Here you can see the concept art. His concept is explained a bit more in episode 1. To make it short, it is based on a Plague Doctor, Venetian Mask, the trope of the healer, and history stories. If you have ideas for a redesign or for new aspects of this Fakemon, please let me know in the comments. I have not started the redesign yet, so everything is still open. So that's it with the video. Please leave a like, tell me what you think about the Firestarter, and subscribe to not miss any new content. I'm also still collecting them for the region, so if you have any ideas, you can tell me in the comments below. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon! Hi everyone, I'm back. Today we will be redesigning our last starter, the Grass Starter Fakemon. You guys had a lot of ideas that I tried to incorporate into the design. Here you can see all the comments that inspired this process. I hope everyone is happy with the results. Also, Nathan Alcantara wrote some concept for Gigantamax and Mega Evolutions. I have never designed or even drawn those evolutions, so I will think about how they will fit into the region and practice the design conception first before I try designing those. Let's start with the base form. So I did change the body shape of the first stage. Since it wasn't based on an actual wild-drop chick, I figured that would be okay. It is now shaped like a kiwi bird, because they are adorable. I gave it a mane of colored grass and a sliced kiwi on its side. There are also a few seeds on its beak, but I will reduce them later. In this stage it has wings but cannot fly, so I gave it strong legs to compensate. I imagine it hopping around because the legs are a bit short. After a while I decided to flip it because cast size was already looking left. Colors basically stayed the same, but I did add some purple like the beta designs of the evolutions had. Here we have the first stage of the Grass Starter. The changes here were the biggest, but I hope you still like this Fakemon. I definitely prefer this design. Next up, the evolution. Wanted to make a different pose, but couldn't figure out one, so it just stayed the same. The beta design already looked a bit awkward, like second stages always do, and I was fine with that. People asked if I can incorporate a healing symbol like the Caduceus, so I did. Around its neck I placed the two typical snakes, but right now they are just ornaments. On its wings a little bush with healing berries. Once birds change their feathers they look a bit weird and awkward, so it was fitting. I reduced the mane around its neck and drew it like a pseudo-cool hairstyle. It still has stronger legs, but it can at least glide through the air. It now also has a tail to stabilize itself while running around. The one seed on its beak grew into another one. And the stage is done. What do you think? I think it looks better than the better design and is a fitting stage between the first and the last one. The pose for the third stage stayed the same, cause I kinda like the better version, but it will of course have design changes. For some reason I messed up the beak and couldn't get it right until the end when I decided to trace the original one. In this stage, the snakes around its neck act on their own will and are no longer just ornaments, so I wanted to draw them more dynamic, which was not that easy. Besides the grass mine, I added leaves around its neck like the hood thing on a plague doctor. Now its wings not only have bushes with berries but also seeds. When it flies over deserted areas, it often releases those seeds to plant new life. This stage has a longer tail, reminiscent of the Archaeopteryx one, which you can see in the references. It can finally fly, but is still able to run around, which makes it an excellent fighter in the sky and at the ground. I don't draw wings that often, and I think it shows in how many attempts it took me to fix the one wing. I made the purple in this stage a bit darker because it is supposed to look a bit more scary. It also has no pupils, which I figured made it look dead inside, which is the complete opposite of this Fakemon since it is actually the bringer of life. Here we have our last starter. I hope it looks enough like a funnel form and fitting for a starter. I know for the Bringer of Life theme it may look too dark, but I wanted the design to be the opposite of what it is actually doing. Since Gen 7 already had an ashy bird grass type starter, I tried to make the design not too similar. I hope I achieved that goal. Next to them we see the third choosable protagonist. Official Pokemon games only have a male and female protagonist to choose from, but I didn't want to limit anyone. I tried to come up with a neutral design, not sure it worked though. Once I redesigned the protagonists, I tried to come up with something better. If this was a real game, others would refer to this character as they, them. Their name is Alex, it's one of the only unisex names I found that was fitting. The meaning is Defender Warrior. So for now that was the last video of the starter Fakemon since we redesigned all 3 lines. Here you can see all 3 on the screen and their typings. Which one would you choose to start your journey with? And here are the full concepts explained, you can pause if you want to read it. In case you still can't decide, here are the shiny versions. I'm not that great with colors, so I just used the tool in Procreate to change those. Maybe it helps you pick your future starter Fakemon. I really hope you liked this video and will continue the journey through this region. By the way, I decided to name this region Jermanzburg region, like this comment suggested. Next up will be the regional rodent. I know people are usually not too interested in these Pokemon or Fakemon, but I think I came up with a cute and cool design. If you like this series and want to help me with the algorithm, please leave a like, subscribe to not miss any new videos, and leave your ideas for future Fakemon if you have any. See you in the next video! Hi everybody and welcome back. If you follow my channel and the Jermanzburg series for a while, you may know that for the first 17 episodes I used a very different art style for my Fakemon. The shadows were made by smudging the edges instead of erasing them. This was the most drastic change. After that there were again minimal changes, but those aren't that important. However, I want all my Fakemon drawings to have an at least very similar style to each other, so I decided I want to redraw a lot of the older ones I've created. Some may only need new outlines, shading and small detail changes, and a few may need a bit more work. I say this right now, this is the last time that I'm redesigning the Jermanzburg Fakemon. If I try to redesign them once again, please stop me. Okay, maybe after 10 years I'm allowed to, but not before. I'm gonna start with the grass start of the region. This may also give new people a fresh start to this project. I'm gonna give a recap on what the Fakemon are based on, what I changed and why I changed things. Let's start with Valarath. So, the grass start is based on the northern bald ibis, or in German the Waldrapp. It is a highly endangered species of birds that can also be found in Germany. The faces of these birds reminded me of Plague Doctor mask or Venetian mask, which was a visual element I wanted to incorporate because I wasn't really satisfied with the one Plague Doctor Pokemon that we actually got. In my very first video I showed my original ideas for the starter Fakemon I had in mind. Then I let people comment on what changes they would make and how we can make the concept a bit more outstanding. With all your input I created the whole Valarath line and an overarching theme for all three starters. The first trope was pen and paper characters, with the grass starter embodying the typical healer character. The second trope was different kind of books, each starter represents a different one. Valarath represents history or medicine books, and the last connecting trope was that each Fakemon is based on a mythical creature or being. I know Plague Doctors actually existed, but they always have a mysterious image or aura going around. So yeah, that is all still the concept, but I decided the design needs a bit of an update. It is now sitting, one starter will be sitting, one lying and one jumping. The fur around its neck is now a bunch of flower petals. Originally it had a cut in half kiwi in there as well, but it looked a bit awkward. I also rounded off all the spiky parts because usually Pokemon designs are a bit more round so trainers wouldn't hurt themselves while interacting with their Pokemon. All in all, the previous design was not stylized enough, had a bit too many details and was too pointy at some parts. I hope you liked the new redesign and final design. The last change I made was its name. Well, I think Valarath, which was a fusion of Carnival, Masquerade and Death, really edgy, sounds cool. It doesn't feel like a Pokemon name, let alone a first stage starter name. So I changed it into Medirapp, a fusion of medicine and Waldrapp. Here you can see the different design stages it went through. The first one was rather bottle shaped, but you people suggested to shape it more like a kiwi bird, which I happily applied. What do you think? Do you like the changes I made, or do you prefer the original one? This one was one that didn't need that much changes from the previous one, but I'm a lot more happy with it now. If you agree, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see the redesigned versions of the fire and water starter as well. Let's see the new updated evolution. The middle stage is usually the awkward teenage phase form, and I liked the design, but it felt a bit too awkward at some points. But the pose looked good to me and the overall shape, so it stayed this way. It actually is rather similar to the very first design I made for the middle stage too. It is now standing up and still unable to fly, but it can now run around. The main thing I wanted to change about Doctibus was the hair like grass on its head and the beak. The purple grass didn't really read like grass and just looked like hair, so I wanted to change that, because it makes no sense for a bird with feathers to have hairs. It now has some flower petals growing out of its head, kinda like a mohawk. And the beak was a bit simplified and rounded off, so Doctibus doesn't accidentally stab someone's eye out. You may be wondering why it has two snakes around its head. Well, I think in my original video I explained it wrong. You probably know the symbol of the scepter with the snake wrapping around, which is associated with medicine. This is the scepter of Asclepius, a mythological ancient Greek healer. I, however, said it's based on the Caduceus, the Scepter of Hermes. For this, we're just gonna pretend it's the same. Okay, it's not in real life, but for this, please, I don't want to hold a lecture right now. Besides the hair and beak, everything stayed the same and only got a bit more Pokemonified. It still grows healing berries on its wings, which it gifts to other Fakemon and humans. Here is the updated version of Doctibus. It is still a pure grass type, but I think the secondary typings hinted well enough. With the new shading method, it also feels a lot more vibrant than before and less desaturated, which I like. Here you can see the 3 different stages Doctibus went through. The changes weren't that crazy, but still recognizable. What do you think? Do you prefer the 2021 version or this updated one? Now to the last stage, and let me say this before, it may be the most controversial design change. I know a lot of people liked the original design, including me, because it was really edgy, but it still needed a few changes. I don't think every Pokemon or Fakemon should be cute, but rather likable. And Caduceus looked pretty grim, which was the whole concept. It looks like it brings death, but it's actually planting seeds to deserted areas and is bringing life. The 2 main issues were the snake heads, they look really bad, the perspective was awful, and the hair/flower petals on its neck. They served no real purpose and looked a bit strange. Since I already changed the neck parts in the previous 2 stages, it wasn't that difficult to change it here too, but I needed to find the right balance to not make the head look super heavy. I also made the head a bit bigger. I liked how it looked originally because it made it a bit more, well, evil looking, if that makes sense. But we are not going for straight evil here. The snakes were pretty troubling for me, because I knew the original pose didn't work at all. So I hid it beneath the flower petals, and hinted at the fact that the other elements that may look like flower buds actually may be more snakes. I also changed the beak and gave it a few spots that hopefully make it look more like a mask with rivets. During the shading process I had a bit trouble not making the grey parts appear to be steel, because this is a grass dark type, not dark steel. Grass steel. Okay, it's also not a dark steel type, but whatever. It definitely was a lot of fun to revisit designs from like a year ago and to see any improvements that were made. A few patterns were also changed and the colors again are more vibrant. All of my older drawings look like someone drained the colors out of it. I hope it's not as bad in my newer drawings. And the final evolution of the grass start line, Caduceus. I'm really happy with the redesign, however I can also see if someone prefers the original one. But I think this design works way better with the Pokemon or Fakemon franchise and its design conventions. Here are also the steps that Caduceus went through. I hope you still like it and that I didn't win someone's favorite starter of the Jermanzburg region. I'm also still torn between the fire and grass starter, but right at this moment I'm slightly leaning towards the Medirab line. Or Medirab, I don't know. Which is surprising for me, cause I'm not the biggest fan of the official bird starter Fakemon. Pokemon. Oh god. I'm sorry, it's like 40 degrees outside and my brain is melting. But yeah, whatever. Rebelmix will be the next to redesign, but it's not gonna be the next video. I'm gonna sprinkle those redesign videos in between the other regular videos. Hope everyone liked the video and the new starter. Tell me what you think in the comments, share the video and subscribe to not miss any new content. See you in the comments! Hello everybody and welcome back. Today is a special day, cause we're gonna redesign another Fakemon of the region, the fire starter Rebelmix. The last time we tackled the grass starter Medirab and its evolution line. I can definitely recommend checking the video out in case you haven't yet. Also, please check out the original videos about my starter Fakemon of the Jermanzburg region because I go a lot more in depth about the lore and designs there. So let's start with Rebelmix. Rebelmix is based on a rabbit and the Wolperdinger, which is a German fairy tale creature that is often portrayed as a mix of a rabbit and other animal parts. Technically it can be a mix of any animal, but the rabbit with wings and horns is the most prominent one. And since I don't really like any of the official rabbit Pokemon we have, and it is part of the Chinese zodiac, which people believe is the inspiration for the fire starters, I just went with it. And I know we just had a Fire Rabbit starter, but I personally think the design and concept is a bit lacking. In the third episode of the Jermanzburg series, I redesigned my original concept, and while the concept and design and theory became a lot better, I wasn't 100% convinced. Don't get me wrong, I think the original design was a bit too bland, but it had such a cute and genuine smile, and for some reason I was unable to bring that to the redesign. It looked a bit static and dead inside, but I hopefully changed that in the 2022 version. Usually fire starters have either literal fire on them or flame-shaped body parts to make sure everybody understands their typing. I also did that with the cheek fur thingies, but I wanted to add a more subtle element. The dark shape on its belly is supposed to look like a volcano, and the fur around its neck like smoke or alternatively clouds that are floating over it. In case you don't know, sometimes when volcanoes erupt, thunderstorms form over it, so it's kinda based on that too. Since volcanoes are, well, kinda explosive, I wanted to create a pose that also reflects that. So it is a bit more jumpy and unbalanced. The paws are supposed to look like volcanic stones, and by raising its arms into the air it looks like rocks shooting out of the volcano. At least I hope it looks like that. I also used slightly more vibrant colors than before because I felt like the original colors were just a tiny bit too pale. Oh, also a change I made in the whole line are the eyes. In my first design they were just two little black dots, which looked cute. In my second attempt I made them a bit larger and started to shade them, and I didn't feel that anymore. I believe it was the reason why it looked kinda weird, but I realized that relatively late. So at the end of the time lapse I decided to change the eyes and gave them an actual iris and pupils. It looks 1000 times better. And there it is, the pure Firestarter Rebel Mix, the mix Pokemon. If you remember the redesign of Mediwrapped, you know that its new pose portrays it sitting, Rebel Mix is jumping, and the water starter will be probably lying down. I figured that would make each member of the trio a bit more outstanding. Or out-jumping. I also slightly changed the color of the shiny. Here you can see the design evolution of Rebel Mix. What do you think? I hope I didn't change a lot, so I don't think I ruined anything. Next up, the middle stage, aka the awkward teenage stage. So while the Wolperdinger aspects were really subtle, I now fully embraced it. My first design was, again, bland, but I don't dislike it actually. I definitely had to change stuff to make it more like a Pokemon, but I don't know, something about the proportions and the vibe just spoke to me. Then I redesigned it in 2021, and again it lost personality. The design got more depth, but that was it. Also, the way I shaded it made it look a bit unappealing in my opinion, but I really liked how the volcano patterns and the smoke fur color thing worked together, and the pose was also fine. Maybe it is just the whole phenomenon that you usually will never like something as much as the original because your heart is more connected to the original, I don't know. In the new redesign I again changed barely anything. The pose stayed mostly the same and the design too. I only changed the flame fur on its face, simplified the wing and the fur around its neck. Also in the previous design the head looked a bit too separated from the head, if that makes sense. I tried to change that. It still does not have the personality of the original one, but I also didn't want it to come off as standoffish as in the first design. Oh, also one thing I wanted to incorporate was the fact that Wolperdingers often look quite chaotic, like nothing is fitting together cause like nothing is indeed fitting together. The last design definitely looked chaotic and like nothing is fitting, but not in a good and intended way. More like I slapped stuff on a bunny and just lived with it. I feel like the new design is working better. So that's all I have to say about the design, but I still wanna chat a bit. So 2 weeks ago was my birthday on September 23rd, and I wanna ask one question. How old do you think I am? A few weeks ago I typed with a few people and mentioned my age, and then they told me how old they thought I was. And it was like a whole 8-year span. I'm still not sure if I should feel offended or honored. I'm just kidding. But yeah, if you don't know my age, how old would you think I am? And here's the finished design of Rebel Main. I just realized I didn't explain the name origins, so the beginning of the name is a fusion of Rebel and Rabbit. Rebel Mix incorporates mix because it's a fusion of multiple animals, and Rebel Main got a mane. Since it is a more prominent feature in this design, I just went with Rebel Main. Here you can see all three designs at once. I hope you agree that the last design is an upgrade to the other two. If not, let me know. And lastly, the final evolution. Besides the base stage, it is the most important one, I think. The base stage is the one you choose at the beginning of the game, so it has to be appealing to the player. The middle stage doesn't have to be. I mean, it's good if the design is nice and everything, but realistically speaking, you don't have to use it for that long in the game, because you can evolve it into the final form, and that form is the one you will be using for the longest time. So that one has to be really good. No pressure, right? So from the beginning of this project, the Grass and Fire starter were my favorites. In fact, Doctibus, the middle stage of the Grass starter, is in my top 3 Fakemon I've ever created. Which is kinda unlucky, since you usually evolve your starter. Anyways, the final stage of the Fire starter is also incorporating elements of the Manticore, which is also a fusion creature, and a really cool one by the way. Mainly because I wanted to give it a stinger-like tail. I again changed not a lot. I mainly simplified a few shapes. There were too many and too spiky fur elements in, for example, the mane and the rest of the body. I realized by slightly adjusting the fur on the front leg, I can make it look like an erupting volcano, since the whole volcano theme is a bit less present, or at least less obvious present in this stage. After all, I feel like this version of Rebel Raptor looks more like a believable final starter stage, even though I'm not 100% happy with the rendering. Which, you know, is the most prominent point why I wanted to redesign my older Fakemon, and I realized that the canvas size and format I am working on is a little problematic. So when I work on my side projects, like turning series into Fakemon and stuff, I work on a larger square-shaped canvas. And I think my renderings turn out better and closer to the Sugimori style. It also doesn't limit me while sketching, like, I don't know, if I feel more comfortable working on a square space. But this canvas here is not my favorite one, but I also don't want to change it, at least not for this series, because then it's gonna look a bit different in the future videos, and like, I want it to be a bit consistent. For the next one, I will use something different though. Yes, I am already working on another region, while I haven't even finished this one. Maybe I am already working on it for around half a year, but like that's still in the future. And a lot more work, unfortunately, but whatever. Here's the final stage, Rebel Raptor. It is a fire and fairy type. When looking at official fairy types, this one may not be that obvious, because 99% are really cute and pink. But I want a more cool looking fairy type. And this Fakemon is based on a fairy tale creature show, so for me that was enough to make it a fairy type. Here you can see the evolution over the 2 years. The biggest change obviously came between the beta design from 2021 and the official version from 2021, since the beta version looked nothing like a rabbit, to be honest, and more like a lion. I think I also used a lion as reference. It's pretty weird looking back to these designs. I learned a lot, but there is definitely a lot of room for improvement. I think my main issue are the poses. They are usually very safe and static because I know I can draw those. For more dynamic poses, I think I have to actively practice, and I don't really have time or motivation for that. So that's a circle I hopefully can break at one point. And colors. Colors are also my weak spot. Even though my artworks now look a bit more vibrant than a year ago, I don't think it's enough. So, am I happy with the final design of the line? I mean, I'm not unhappy with it. I feel like I have way too high expectations and compare myself to these incredible artists like Jack from Subjectively, and I want my artworks to turn out like theirs, but I don't have the routine and skills yet, and I'm kinda worried that even if I try to improve my skills, it doesn't work out the way I imagine it, which is the reason why I don't try at all. And to be honest, this is my approach to many things, which is definitely the wrong approach because it limits your own creativity and well-being. Yeah, well, this got a bit depressing, I'm sorry. What I wanted to say is just that I will try to practice more and procrastinate less. I will also try to not compare my artworks too much with other artists, at least not in a talking down on yourself way. I also will stop trying to force anything. There are just a few things that I really want to do, but then I force myself to do it and to be creative. That just pressures me, and then I'm stressed out to create something, and it usually doesn't work, which frustrates me and takes away the most important thing, the fun of drawing and creating something. It's been a while since I was just drawing for fun. I always have these expectations that it has to be something that's good enough to be posted on social media, and I really hate that mindset, and I know it's not good for me, and I try to change it. I actually started to paint Pokemon cards. I've seen it on TikTok, yeah, social media again, blah blah blah. But I've seen it and it looks like so much fun, and I tried out. I painted 2 cards as of right now when I'm writing or recording this, and it's been a while since I had so much fun while like just creating anything, to be honest. So that's something. I'm sorry I rambled so much. I just kind of felt the need to, I don't know, explain myself. I can't blame you if you already clicked off yet. Anyway, so here are the grass and the fire starter line. Which one do you prefer right now? I still can't decide. Probably. No, I don't know, I really don't. I really hope that after this redesign I could choose, but nope, I still can't. The next redesign will be the water starter, but I need time for that one. I started the redesign, but it's not even close of being finished. But I also started with the Route 1 month, so after I finished the starter, there may be more redesigns out frequently. So I can finally get my Instagram page rolling again. Oh, also I have a DeviantArt page. My name is CyberInk3D. Go check it out and follow if you want to see the full decks at one place. Thanks everybody for watching this video. Please tell me your opinions in the comments about the starter. Do you like it? Did you like it before? Did it change your, like, which starter you would pick? Leave a like. I don't know if I already said that. Subscribe to the channel to not miss any future videos, and see you in the comments. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. New year final starter redesign. Last year I started to redesign my 3 starter Fakemon from 2021. The first one to get this treatment was the grass starter Medirap, and the second one the fire starter Rebel Mix. So the last one missing is the water starter Castice. I recommend you checking out these 2 older videos first, cause I explain the whole concept there. I don't want to repeat everything, and I'm mostly gonna explain my thoughts behind the redesign. Also, another note, I'm hosting a Fakemon drawing contest for hitting 500 subscribers. All infos you need to know are in the video and the pinned comment if you want to participate. Anyways, let's start the redesign. I am working on this redesign for like 3 or 4 months maybe. It's a starter and the expectations are always higher for those. And it took me a lot of attempts to get to the point where I was at least sort of happy. But maybe I should start with the concept first. So the water starter is based on the Beaver, Vikings and Ghost stories. From the start, this line was my least favorite one to draw and the least favorite design. I honestly don't even know why I had such trouble drawing the line, but like it started really at the first design. I guess it was because I had a clearer idea of what the other 2 starters are supposed to look like and the concepts were just stronger. And the body shape of the beaver was a bit awkward. It was kinda hard to pose and everything. I tried a few different poses. Originally I started with the same pose as the 2 previous designs, then I switched it to a lying pose, and then again to the original, and finally a different one. My whole thought process behind the pose was to reference a flying ghost, cause the line is based on ghost stories and spoiler alert, it will gain the ghost typing. and the pose did look cute, at least the first one. In the first redesign I posed the arms a bit different because not only is this Fakemon based on Vikings, but more specifically their ships. So I posed the arms like paddles. But it didn't really work in my opinion, so I didn't use that idea for my recent redesign. So I switched up the pose, it's now lying down, facing the viewer. However, this gave me the problem that a huge part of the body is covered. However, I wanted to show the tail, because the tail is the most prominent part of a beaver, and I wanted to somehow incorporate it into the design. But it was tough, not gonna lie. So originally I gave Castized a tail shaped like a hammer, cause according to the fan canon all water starters are representing different weapons. And I tried to implement it again for a long time, but in the end it didn't make the cut. And I hope my explanation is good enough for you too. On its chest is a pattern that is supposed to look like a shield. Maybe just using a shield as the weapon aspect would have been enough and definitely more easy now that I think about it, but that's not the argumentation I went with. You remember the part where I said that this Fakemon is based on ships by Vikings, right? When googling those ships I found a few pictures where the hind part of the ship is kinda curled up, so I did the same thing with the tail here. And honestly it does give Castized the appearance of such a ship, don't you think? Oh yeah, by the way, that's the weapon aspect, cause ships can be used as weapons. Damn, the shield element is way stronger and a lot more easy, but whatever. Here it is, the water starter Castized, the warrior Fakemon. I know it doesn't look like a warrior right now, but it will turn into one. Also, side note, I changed the eyes while writing the script cause I felt like they were too wide apart from each other. I also changed the Pokédex entry from the original one. And here you can see the evolution of Castized through the years. It's definitely the starter that got the biggest redesign. And am I happy with this stage? Now, well, I'm confident enough to finally release it, so I'm gonna say yes. Next up, the evolution Vic-type. My first redesign attempt this time was horrible, like no idea how it turned out worse than the original design. It looked more like a weird dog or something like that. I think this stage was actually my favorite one out of this line, and I think it still is. I don't know, I kinda like it. The pose stayed relatively the same, however I made it less flowy. Originally the pose was supposed to look like it's either swimming or floating. Swimming because water type and floating because ghost type, however this stage is not a ghost type yet, so it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I incorporated more elements of the ship and added circle elements at the sides. Those symbolize the shields that can be seen at the sides of such ships. The shield on its chest turned into a whole armor. I probably also could have used the armor as the weapon element. Well, better safe than sorry, I guess. While I do like this stage, I don't have more to say about it. I mean, it's a middle stage, usually the most skippable one, but I still try to give my best. And since I didn't dislike the original drawing, it was a lot more easy to draw. The only problem I ran into was the hind leg or hind flipper, because the perspective always looked weird. I removed the eye pattern and in general simplified the whole design. The ear is chipped to show that it is a warrior and it's got its first battle scar. And here it is, Vic-type, the 8th Fakemon of the Jermanzburg decks. It can use its tail as a decoy. It looks a bit like the head of a sea serpent, so I imagine it swimming around and sticking its tail out of the water, Nessie style. What do you think? Would you be happy if your Castized turned into Vic-type? And here is Vic-type throughout the years. Now looking back at this stage, I think actually Vic-type got the most changes throughout the years. I totally forgot my first beta design. So yeah, now to the last stage. Since the beginning, a big challenge. I didn't even manage to design a beta version. Like, I drew the beta version of Vic-type and was like, I have no idea how to go further. Art block at its finest, and it hit me again when I tried to redesign this one. But anyways, the original design had a few perspective issues, mostly the head, the arms were a bit weird, and the tail. In general, the tail bugged me because it looked way too heavy. No way this Fakemon would be able to carry it around. Also, this and the armor part look too much like a steel type, and I usually don't have an issue when Pokemon don't look like they're typing or look like multiple typings. However, Tactire didn't look like its secondary typing at all. Like I said, it's a water and ghost type, but nothing looked like a ghost type. So in this redesign I wanted to change that. Originally I wanted the lower body to be completely made out of ghostly matter, but I made a last minute change because there was too much purple and not enough blue in the design. However, I did change the water main into a ghost main. I wasn't feeling the scar on the eye, but I did want to give it an element that suggests a greater battle. First of all, it lost an ear. And the reason behind that was definitely not because I wasn't able to draw an ear. And second of all, I added a huge slash marking on the chest. To make the overall design a bit more interesting, I added a few swirly elements in the shield elements. And the eye. I guess that would be more fitting for a psychic type, but I don't know, it gives Tactire an unsettling look, perfect for a ghost type. And here is the last starter of the Jermanzburg region, Tactire, a water and ghost type. It definitely turned out a bit more serpentine, like I initially expected, but I'm not unhappy with that. I mean, it never really looked like a beaver anyways, and at least in the second stage I also mixed in a bit of seal, so yeah, let's call it creative liberty. Here you can see the original Tactire, and here's the redesign. What do you think? Was Castized your original pick, and did this redesign change your opinion? I will make a community post where you can vote for your favorite starter. I'm curious who's gonna be the fan favorite. I'm not gonna say who's my favorite because I don't want to, influence your opinion on that. Please pick the starter you are the most comfortable with. If there's anything you think I should keep in mind when designing my next starter trio, please let me know. You can also leave your opinions in the comments. Please stay for the Fanartshowcase, leave a like and subscribe to see how the Jermanzburg region evolves. See you in the comments. So, hello and welcome back. Now you know as much about the starters as I do, and we can finally tackle the Mega Evolutions in chronological order. First, the Mega Evolution for our Grass and Dark starter, Cadorest. This one was the second one I drew, but I'm gonna show you it in Pokédex order. I didn't really go into these with a concept since I just couldn't come up with another layer of lore. There were already layers of layers and I just wanted to draw megas, but didn't have a solid idea. Maybe because I haven't really studied the design conventions of mega evolutions like I should have. I think I said that in one video, but whatever, we're gonna ignore that. I kinda shot all my shots at the previous 3 stages, but after working on the megas for Rebelraptor and Cadorest, I noticed a vague trend and then concentrated on that to solidify the concept. I realized that the body shapes I sketched kinda went into the direction of the original body shapes I made in my first video. You know, the OG bowling pin body shape of, back then it was called Cadorest, rather than the updated ball-like shape Maticss now has. Originally I wanted to use the same flying pose as Cadorest, but I struggled to make it interesting and not just a larger, more spiky version of itself, so I changed it to a standing pose with strong wings and large spread wings. It was at this point the sketch was giving me dinosaur or raptor vibes, so I gave it some little hands or claws, because this is no longer a giant terrifying bird. No, it's a giant, slightly less terrifying dinosaurish guy, I guess. It now also has a different belly pattern that is supposed to look like snake heads, or like a snake head, singular. Normal Cadorest has snakes around his neck, and I wanted to work with that, make them a little more crazy, but I wasn't confident in what I came up with, and well, the whole concept, I didn't really have a solid idea what actually to do with it, so I decided to remove the snakes from the neck and put them on the belly and chest. The head crest around the neck got a little larger and turned into some sort of a mane. Originally, I wanted to give it more and larger berries on the wings that look more like grapes, you know, the stereotypical pyramid-like grape thingy, but that looked weird and unproportionate, so I changed it back to single berries. Personally, I'm pretty happy how the final mega turned out. I would say it did take the design to a new level, which is the purpose of a mega evolution, I guess. And I could fix issues I had with the normal Cutters without having to make a full new key art. Cause, in theory, I would like to redesign or at least re-render them, but I get super bored at drawing the same thing again, so redesigning something I already am happy to a certain extent, is just a drag for me and I can't motivate myself to actually do it, because I don't want to change too much since I like the original, but not changing a lot is just too boring for me and I won't follow through with actually redrawing the key art even if it's technically needed, but that's none of your concern. So that's as far as we're gonna go today. Here it is, Mega Cutters, the Mega Evolution for the Jermanzburg Grass starter. It is still a Grass and Dark type. If you picked the Grass starter, would you be hyped about your Cutters Mega evolving into this form? Personally, I would, but I also created it, so I'm a little biased, I guess. Next one is the Mega Evolution for the Fire starter Rebel main, which I drew first. And I knew from the start that I wanted to change the body shape, which may be a little controversial because I'm making a quadrupedal Fakemon stand up and become bipedal. And I know that's something the fandom isn't too fond of. Personally, I am also one of these people to some extent, but the first stage is also bipedal, so I guess that may counter that. You know, going back to its roots sort of story. When I designed the first stage of the Fire starter in 2021, I really liked it, but I couldn't pinpoint what I liked about it, so when I redesigned it, I actually liked it less, which is not good. It's kind of got grey-washed and lost its personality, and it's a little lifeless. I do think I fixed it in the next redesign, however I'm still kind of missing the OG design, which is the reason I tried to make the Mega Evolution referencing the OG design when it comes to the body shape. And I kind of love it, like, not gonna downplay that. Definitely like it better than the normal final stage, and I already like the final normal stage. I over-exaggerated the mane and made the tail resemble a scorpion stinger because this Fakemon is based on a Volpadinger or a Jackalope. So a mythical being mixed out of different animals, most of the time a rabbit is involved. So for the Mega Evolution I added the aspect of the Chimera to make it a little extra and more mythical. And as you can probably tell by now, the theme of these megas is like going back to its roots, even though I know it doesn't really make sense because it's like referencing beta sprites, so something unofficial, but I think for the people who may know these beta sprites, that's like a cool detail, or like, you know, something cool to catch if you know it. And if not, I hope the designs are just good enough to not raise too many questions. Anyways, here it is, Mega Rebelraptor, a Mega Evolution of the Fire and Fairy type starter of the Jermanzburg region. Does this Mega Evolution change your opinion about these starters or solidify your choice? Please let me know it in the comments. And lastly, the Mega for the Water starter Tactire, who is based on Vikings and ghost stories, and I think a bunch of other stuff, like I think ships were involved, hammers, weapons, warships. I'm not sure. It's been a few minutes. So the water starter line was always my least favorite one. I don't even know why, but I just couldn't be 100% happy with it, despite liking the concept. But I couldn't figure out a way to make it more appealing to me. So I stopped after a design. I was like 80% happy with it, but I wanted to change my feelings towards the line with this Mega Evolution because, you know, it's one of the starters. It's supposed to be good, it's supposed to be appealing, and I know there are fans of the original Tactile design. I'm just like, I want to be one of those fans, you know? So it was a lot of work, as you can see in this time lapse. Like, it's a pretty long process until I found the sketch that will be outlined. Originally, I wanted to make the design more Viking-like with a helmet, but I couldn't figure out a shape I liked because it was weird. It didn't really like work, or I couldn't make it work, let's put it that way. And after much consideration, I decided to switch up the body shape and head shape too, because, like, why not? Originally it was more serpentine, but after looking at my old sketch of the second stage, I kinda liked the more chubby floating happy guy with a more round head, so I went to that direction, and I also gave it legs because it made things a little easier for me. And dare I say that I'm actually starting to like this design. I also added a shield and sword to both of its arms to one-up the weapon concepts. They are made out of this ghostly energy floating around it that its mane is also made out of. And there are also now more spikes on its back for good measurement. I think they're supposed to be like parts of ships, like the... I don't know what it's in English, wait a second. Like the pole where the sails are located at. You know what I'm talking about, hopefully. I also enlarged the scar on the chest and made it a little more symmetrical. And maybe you already recognized it, but all three Mega Evolutions have this triangular pattern around the eye to connect the three forms with each other. So, yeah. I am writing and recording the script before actually finishing the rendering, like outlines and colors, so basically the design is done, but the shading and lighting is yet to be made. But overall the design are finished and I'm not going to change anything drastic about it. And I like them a lot, I'm super happy with them, even Tactile, who I was really worried about. Which leads me to a potentially larger problem. I universally like all the Mega Evolutions better than the original final stages, and I think that's a good thing in theory, but I also want the Mega Evolutions to be the regular final stages because I like them so much. But then I would have to design new Mega Evolutions, which, like, I'm not about to do that. Also, I feel like Mega Cutrest and Mega Rebel Raptor are a little too detailed / over-designed to be the regular versions, but Tactile would work as a final stage. I'm like so tempted to do it, but I can't do that. I already spent too much time on the starters and the megas and pushed this video back way too many times. So these are the Mega Evolutions, it's gonna stay this way. Yeah. And here it is, the final Mega Starter Mega Tactile, a Water and Psychic type. And we are finally done, what do you think? Here are all the three Megas side by side. Are you happy with the Mega Evolution your starter got, or would you even change your pick after seeing their full potential? Honestly, I hoped it would be more easy for me to pick my starter since I was contemplating between Cutrest and Ravelraptor, but now Tactile is in the run too because I really like the Mega I came up with. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm the creator of this region, so I can't just, you know, take all three of them, but like that would be a little cheating, but also it's my creation. What are we gonna do about it? So for now, we are done with the starters. I don't know if in the future I may make Gigantamax forms for them, or whatever gimmick Gen 10 will come up with, if Gen 10 will be a thing, and if it's gonna have a new whatever. As of right now, That's not planned, like I don't plan on making Gigantamax forms, but we will see what the future holds. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know your opinions in the comments, subscribe to not miss any new videos, and see you in the comments!